In 2019, a survey team working the northwestern shelf of Australia pulled sonar equipment across a section of seabed that had not been examined before. The readings came back with features that did not match the surrounding geology: structured, arranged, deliberate in a way that natural formation does not produce. The shelf had been dry land, inhabited land, for tens of thousands of years before the ocean took it. Nobody had looked there before, not because the evidence wasn't there, because the instruments didn't exist, and because the assumption was that there was nothing to find. 6 sites, all discovered within the last decade, each examined by credentialed researchers using current methodology. Each returning findings the existing framework of ancient history was not designed to hold. This is ancient cipher, and today we examine what was just found and why the field is still working out what to do with it. What is happening in archaeology right now is not a revolution. It is quieter than that, more uncomfortable. It is the slow accumulation of discoveries that do not fit, not in the places they were found, not at the dates the instruments keep returning, not at the scale the accepted model said was possible. Each discovery arrives with its own explanation, its own institutional response, its own careful academic framing. But taken together, across 6 sites found within the last 10 years, they point towards something the individual explanations do not address. How much of the ancient world is still invisible to us? Begin in Dorset, England, 2015. A construction crew broke ground on a routine project near Durrington Walls and accidentally breached the edge of a prehistoric monument that had been sitting undetected beneath one of the most intensively studied archaeological landscapes on Earth. Ground-penetrating radar deployed in the aftermath mapped a buried ceremonial complex, up to 90 standing stones or timber posts arranged in a C-shaped formation stretching 330 meters, dated to approximately 4,500 years ago. The technology found it by accident. What the Durrington Superhenge demonstrated was not just the existence of a previously unknown monument. It demonstrated that the ceremonial landscape around Stonehenge was substantially larger and more deliberately organized than a century of professional survey had revealed. The instruments were pointed at the right place. They simply weren't sensitive enough to see it until now, which raises a question that applies to every ancient landscape that has not received comparable scrutiny. If this was missed here, what is sitting undetected everywhere else? Move to Guatemala, 2018. The Pacunam LiDAR initiative surveyed approximately 2,100 square kilometers of northern jungle and returned a map that rewrote the understood scale of Maya civilization in a single publication. Over 60,000 previously unknown structures, not isolated buildings, interconnected urban centers, causeways, fortifications, and agricultural systems organized across the landscape at a population density several times larger than previous estimates had proposed. The Maya civilization at its classic period peak was not a collection of ceremonial centers separated by uninhabited jungle. It was a densely populated, regionally integrated urban civilization whose true extent had been invisible to ground-level archaeology for over a century of dedicated study. LiDAR did not find a new civilization. It found the true scale of a known one, and if a civilization this extensively studied could be underestimated by this margin, the confidence with which archaeology has measured less studied ancient cultures requires examination. Off the coast of the Greek island of Delos, underwater survey conducted between 2020 and 2022 identified a submerged prehistoric landscape at depths consistent with sea levels during the last glacial maximum, approximately 12,000 to 8,000 years ago. Stone arrangements, potential structural foundations, and cleared areas distributed across a submerged plateau that was dry, inhabitable land before the sea came in. Worked stone tools dated to the relevant period recovered from the survey area. The standard archaeological map of early Mediterranean civilization is drawn almost entirely from what survived on land. What the Delos survey is beginning to indicate is that the map is incomplete in a specific and directional way, systematically missing the coastal settlements of a world that now sits beneath the sea. How many of those settlements existed and how complex they were has barely begun to be investigated. 3 sites in, the pattern is already visible. Darrington Walls was missed because the instruments weren't sensitive enough. The Maya survey revealed a civilization larger than a century of study had measured. The Delos findings point toward an entire category of prehistoric occupation that is structurally invisible to land-based archaeology. In each case, the discovery did not contradict the existence of a known civilization. It contradicted the assumed scale of what that civilization actually was. That distinction matters more than it might appear, because if the problem was simply that we lacked the right instruments, better technology would solve it progressively and cleanly. But several of these sites are not revealing more of what was expected. They are revealing things at scales, in locations, and at dates the existing framework did not predict. That is a different category of problem, and it does not have a technological solution. Here is where a reasonable viewer might push back. The argument goes like this: new instruments find new things. LiDAR reveals structures, sonar maps seabeds, ground-penetrating radar detects buried features. The fact that we keep finding more does not mean the ancient world was more sophisticated than we thought. It means our tools are better. That argument is fair, and it holds until the discoveries stop revealing more of the expected and start revealing things the model did not anticipate. The true scale of the Maya urban network was not anticipated. A 12,000-year-old planned settlement demonstrating social differentiation was not supposed to exist at that date. These are not refinements. They are structural challenges to the model itself. In 2022, excavations at Bonkuklu Tala in southeastern Turkey uncovered ritual and residential architecture dated to approximately 12,000 years ago, among the earliest known examples of permanent settlement in the ancient Near East. What distinguishes Bonkuklu Tala is not the age. It is the architecture's social signature. Distinct building types suggest deliberate functional zoning, residential, communal, and ritual spaces organized within a planned layout. Functional differentiation of this kind is a marker of organizational complexity. The conventional model places several thousand years later in the developmental sequence. It was not supposed to be there yet. Bonkuklu Tala joins a growing body of evidence from the same region, suggesting the assumed developmental sequence, from simple to complex, from mobile to settled, is considerably less linear than the textbook version describes. Each excavation season returns findings that push the boundary of what the existing model predicted would exist at this date. Off the northwestern coast of Australia, systematic survey of the Sahul Shelf between 2019 and 2023 has produced findings that researchers have described as among the most significant in Australian archaeology's recent history. The Sahul Shelf was dry land during the last glacial maximum, a vast coastal plain stretching hundreds of kilometers beyond Australia's current shoreline. It was inhabitable, resource-rich land, occupied by the ancestors of Aboriginal Australians, whose arrival on the continent is now dated to at least 65,000 years ago, making them among the oldest continuous cultures on Earth. The recent surveys have identified stone artifact scatters, hearth features, and structural arrangements at depths consistent with occupation during the glacial maximum. Preliminary findings only, but sufficient to confirm that the drowned coastline of ancient Australia was not empty. The implication is the same one that surfaced at Delos, and it is larger than either site alone. A significant portion of early human occupation occurred in coastal environments that are now beneath the ocean. The archaeological record is not simply incomplete, It is structurally biased toward the environments where evidence survived in conditions we could access. The coastal record, where many researchers now believe the earliest complex social behaviors may have developed, is largely underwater, largely unmapped, largely unread. This is where something shifts. The 6 discoveries examined today are not, individually, evidence of a lost civilization or a suppressed history. Each has a credible institutional explanation. Each sits within the normal range of archaeological revision, the process by which new findings update old models. But collectively, they point toward a pattern that the individual explanations do not address. The pattern is not about what was found, it is about where the gaps are. Every one of these discoveries emerged from a category of environment or methodology that archaeology had not previously been able to access. Buried landscapes, jungle canopy, ocean floor, submerged shelves. The discoveries are not random. They cluster in the places we weren't looking, which means the map we have been working from is not just incomplete in the way that all maps are incomplete. It is incomplete in a direction, biased away from the environments where a significant portion of ancient human activity actually occurred. In the Ucayali region of the Peruvian Amazon, LiDAR survey and ground excavation between 2022 and 2023 revealed a complex of earthworks and raised platforms covering approximately 10 square kilometers, dated to between 2,000 and 3,000 years ago. The geometric precision of the layout, the hydraulic engineering embedded in the platform system, and the scale of coordinated labor required place it in a category of Amazonian construction that mainstream archaeology spent most of the 20th century insisting could not exist here. The Amazon was characterized for decades as a marginal environment, too flood-prone, too nutrient-poor, too logistically demanding to support the population densities required for organized monumental construction. That characterization has been dismantled, not by argument, but by excavation. The pre-Columbian Amazon was densely populated, intensively managed, and far more organizationally sophisticated than the standard model allowed. The Ucayali earthworks are among the most precisely documented evidence of that reality to emerge in the current decade. The people who built them left no written records. Their engineering methodology has not been reconstructed. What has been established is that they existed, that they built at a level of complexity the old model said was impossible in this environment, and that they did so centuries before European contact erased the cultural continuity that might have preserved the explanation. 6 sites, all found within the last 10 years. All returning findings, the existing framework was not built to accommodate. The question that has been running beneath this entire examination is not really about the ancient world, it is about the map. About the confidence with which we have drawn the boundaries of human history based on what survived in the conditions we could access, using the instruments we happen to develop in the locations we happen to look. About what it means that 6 significant revisions arrived in a single decade, not from theory, but from physical evidence pulled from the ground and the seabed. The ancient world was larger than the map we have been using. That much is now documented. How much larger is still being determined? What are we still not seeing? And what would we have to be willing to change if we did?